y'all. So I want to talk to you today about grieving. Now, there are different forms of grieving. Not all forms are the same. There's definitely, like, you can grieve over something as little as maybe something you planned that didn't work out the way that you wanted it to. Maybe it was a dream that you had that didn't pan out, or maybe it was a hope that you had that seemed to fail, right? Maybe it was something like that. And it's very easy to kind of beat yourself up when things that you dream about, things that you plan for, things that you prepare for don't work out the way that you want them to, or you maybe think that they will. Okay, for instance, I'm a teacher, and I'm also a speaker, and I'm also a photographer, okay? So those are 3 jobs that I do that have been affected by the coronavirus, by the quarantine. So firstly, I'm a teacher, and I teach preschool, and then I also teach middle and high school girls. I had all kinds of fun, exciting plans for the end of the year. My middle and high school girls are graduating, so I had plans for that. My preschoolers are graduating. They're going to go to kindergarten and pre-K, and so it's really hard when you think about all the plans that you had that aren't going to happen the way that you planned them, right? Like, I was hoping to do an Easter play with all of my kids, and I was hoping to have parties for the children that are moving away, and that didn't happen. And then I was hoping to do a trip, to take a trip with my middle and high school girls somewhere fun, like an amusement park or a theme park or something. And, all the theme parks are closed, and nobody's, really going or doing anything right now. And so it's okay to grieve over your plans that didn't work out the way that you maybe thought they would. And I am grieving over those plans. I'm grieving that one of my students is moving. Actually, she's moving tomorrow, and her brother obviously is moving with her. And it's heartbreaking because I get sad that I missed out on that time with them, and then my other students that, aren't going to be in my class next year. Like, the school year is over now. And so it's okay to grieve about stuff that matters. And it's a valid grief, right? You planned something and it didn't work. Those dreams, those plans have kind of died. And it's okay to grieve over them and to express emotion and to kind of go through the emotions. Obviously, give it to God and ask God to help you and ask God to lead you, and He definitely will. But it's okay to go through those feelings and those emotions. It's okay, and it's kind of normal to have those feelings and to have those desires and to have those dreams that maybe didn't work out the way that you thought they were going to. And then there's bigger dreams, or there's bigger grief. There's grieving over, maybe you had dreams to be married, and maybe you did get married, and maybe that person lied, maybe that person cheated, maybe that person wasn't who they said they were, and you got a divorce. And all those dreams and all those hopes, that's, kind of where I am too. So I'm grieving over the fact that I waited until my wedding day to kiss my ex-husband. And, you can do everything the right way, or the way that you seem is right, and you can still end up divorced. And you can do everything the right way yourself, but you can't control another person's actions. You can't control another person's feelings. And so you can grieve over that. You can grieve over those memories that you made with somebody that didn't care. And that's a valid grief. You can grieve over, maybe you wanted to be a mom, and maybe you're 33 and you're not a mom. You can grieve over that. Some of my friends have struggled with infertility issues, and they've struggled with miscarriages and stillborns. And some of my friends, their children, they've lost children, some young, some old. It doesn't matter. A loss is a loss. And if you're walking through any kind of loss, whether it be a loss of job, a loss of dream, a loss of hope, maybe it's a loss of a marriage, maybe it's a loss of a loved one, right? And that's an even bigger grief. I'm also walking through that as well. My dad went to heaven, and I never imagined that at 33 he wouldn't be here. but he's not, not in the same way that I was used to him being here. And I'm still grieving over that. And that's a valid grief. It's not something you can just skip over and be like, well, deal with it. Yeah, you are dealing with it, but you have to process those emotions. You have to let yourself go through those emotions and go through those feelings and those tears. Sometimes you got to cry through it and give it to God and say, God, I know that this isn't good, but I know that you are. This doesn't feel good. This hurts. This is painful, but I know that you're going to bring some kind of good and some kind of hope out of it. And I can trust you, even when it's scary, even when I feel like the walls are caving in around me. Maybe, loss of money. A lot of people have invested and the stocks have kind of plummeted because of the virus and jobs being out and all that. Maybe you're grieving over the loss of finances. Maybe you've lost your home. Maybe you've lost a car. It's okay to grieve. Grieving is valid. When you lose something, it makes you sad. When a child loses a balloon, it doesn't matter that balloon was $1 at Dollar Tree. It's still a balloon and that child still lost it. And I just want to let you know, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be sad and to be hurt. And, when something dies or when something ends, it doesn't just end there. Like for my dad, when my dad went to heaven, it's not just like he goes to heaven and then all those feelings are gone. Those feelings kind of bring themselves back to the surface anytime there's a holiday and he's not here. Anytime it's his birthday and he's not here, or my parents' anniversary and he's not here, or, it's my birthday and he's not here. Those feelings all come right back up to the surface. And so grief is not a one-time deal that it's like, oh yeah, I'm over that. Yes, God heals us and yes, God strengthens us, but we still process the emotions. We still go through the feelings. And I want to encourage you, it's a good thing to go through those feelings. It's a good thing to go through those emotions. It's a good thing. God gave us emotions for a reason, and they're valid. They're not in vain. And so I just want to encourage you, if you are watching this and you're like, well, Ashleydawn, I'm a Christian and I love Jesus, but I'm struggling. Your struggle is valid. Your pain is valid. Your emotions are valid. Cry it out. Go outside and scream if you have to. Don't hurt nobody else just because you're hurting. Don't project or push that hurt on somebody else, but deal with your hurt. Deal with your emotions. If you can go to therapy or counseling, journal, read a proverb. Today's the 22nd or 23rd? Go to the 23rd proverb and read that and journal it and just ask God to show you how to go through what you're going through and to grow through what you're going through. Your feelings are valid. It's okay to cry. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to not know how you're going to make it, but to know that God is with you and that God will continue to be with you and that God is helping you. Listen, I struggle on a daily basis with lots of different things, especially now with the coronavirus. I've been struggling with missing out on all that time with my students. I've been struggling with being on Zoom calls 2 to 3 times a day, every single day. I've been struggling with filming videos, for 6, 7, 8 hours a day for my class. I've been struggling with my, mental health and emotional health and really struggling thinking about all the fun stuff that I'm not going to get to do and all the fun things that I wish that I could do and the people that I wish that I could see. And it's a lot. Trust me, it is a lot. And sometimes it's too much to bear. Sometimes I just cry and I cry and I cry. And you know what? That's okay. It's healthy. It's healthy to cry. When the rain clouds get heavy, right? It rains. When your shoulders get heavy, when the weight that you're carrying gets heavy, it's okay to put it down. It's okay to let it out. And I just want to encourage you, whether you're a Christian, whether you're not a Christian, listen, my videos aren't just for Christians, they're for everybody. Whosoever wants to watch them, whosoever wants to listen to them. Obviously, I share my beliefs and I share my heart, but at no time do you have to believe what I believe. I just want to encourage people. I just want to bring hope to hopeless situations. I just want to help people not feel so alone and not feel like they have to, carry the weight of the world on their shoulders all by themselves, because you don't. And so if you're not a Christian and you're struggling and you're like, Ashleydawn, I don't really have faith. I don't really, or maybe you do have faith and it's just in something else. And you're like, I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to get through this. Feel free to message me, to email me. I've been where you are. I kind of still am. There are days that I'm great and I'm wonderful and everything's great. And then there's days that I'm not. And it's one trauma triggers another trauma, right? Like, for instance, when I was in my marriage, I got divorced 4 years ago and I got married 7 years ago, and it was a complete nightmare. Like, I'm not going to go into all of the details. If you've heard me preach anywhere or speak at a church or a conference, you know most of them. But it was hard. And this quarantine has really brought a lot to the surface, because when I was married, I was kind of in quarantine, right? My ex-husband was never there. He was always quote unquote working, which he wasn't working. That's, part of the story. But he told me he was working and I believed him. And I was alone. I lived in a city that I wasn't familiar with. He, moved me to his hometown, and I agreed to do that because I was super loving and super caring and put other people's needs in front of my own. And we didn't hold hands and we didn't hug, and he didn't sit next to me on the couch. And so all of this quarantine, when you're not allowed to hug and you're not allowed to touch and you're not allowed to sit next to people, you got to keep your 6 feet, of separation, whatever. It brought up all of those feelings, because I was like good. I was doing pretty good. Like, I generally don't think about him, but I was doing pretty good. And then the quarantine happened, and then it was like all these hopes and dreams that have died. And I remember when I was walking through one of the darkest seasons of my life, feeling like all my hopes and dreams had died. Like, I had dreamt of being married, and I had dreamt of being, a June Cleaver wife, and just having, all these awesome memories and moments together with, my best friend. And that was always my dream. Like, you marry your best friend and you make memories and you do life together, and it's going to be wonderful and it's going to be great and everything's awesome. And then it's not. And then it's not wonderful. It's not great. And you're not doing anything together. And he, doesn't want to be your best friend. He doesn't want to go on adventures with you. He doesn't want to do anything with you. And so that's super heartbreaking to think about, dreams dying, feelings getting hurt. And so this quarantine really brought up all of those emotions, and I've had to deal with things that I used to deal with, 7 years ago. And so one trauma it triggers another trauma. It triggers old traumas. And it's like, sometimes, if you have a sports injury, you can re-injure it. It's the same deal. Sometimes you can get re-injured and it hurts. If you have a knee problem and you re-hurt your knee, it hurts. And it's the same thing with grief. It's the same thing with struggling. It hurts. And no matter what you go through, it hurts. It hurts so bad. And if you're grieving right now, I just want you to know that it's valid. Your grieving is valid. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to cry and to scream and to let it out. You're not alone. You're not. And listen, I know there's a lot of people that'll say, oh, well, if you know God, then, just give it to God. Just give it to God. Yeah, I truly believe that. We do give our problems and our emotions and our pain to God. But we also have to work through them and walk through them. Like, Jesus wept. When Lazarus died, Jesus wept. Like, yes, Jesus was going to heal him. Yes, Jesus was going to bring him back from the dead. But Jesus still wept. And that's an important thing to remind you. Jesus still wept. And sometimes, even if we do have Jesus, and even if we do have a strong faith, we still weep and we still cry. And it also says in the Bible, mourn with those who mourn and weep with those who weep. And that's not to say, well, if you're having a hard day, I need to have a hard day too. That's to say, oh, do I know where I'm going? Maybe not. That's to say that, we're not supposed to do life alone. We're not supposed to go through this thing called life and just be like, well, I can do everything on my own, and I can just, put it on me and put it on my shoulders, and I got this. No, you don't got this. You need each other. You need friends. You need people that will do life with you. You're not supposed to do life alone. God has not called us to be an island, right? He wants us to help each other. He wants us to have community with each other, to lift each other's hands. And another thing, if somebody is putting everything on you because they themselves don't want to deal with it, I have a couple people in my life that, and I mean this in the nicest way, they're drainers. Like, they really are. They will suck the life out of me. They will completely drain me, and they will take and take and take and take and take and take and never think about anybody but themselves. And I have quite a few of these people in my life. I love them, but that's kind of the people they are. They just take and 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 take. So I have to set boundaries and be like, listen, this is all I have to give you. That's it. This is all I have to give you. And after that, I don't have anything else. And that's not mean. It's okay if you tell people that are drainers, that are just sucking the energy and the life out of you, that always want you to help them, that always need you to, help them financially, or to buy this for them, or to buy that for them, or to do this for them, or to do that for them, or that always need somebody to talk to, or that always, that come to you with their problems. I went to a conference one time, and the pastor, speaker, teacher was saying, they're like, some things are too heavy for people to carry, and so they put them on the shoulders of somebody else because they can't carry them themselves. And that hit me so hard, and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. There have been so many people in my personal life that have been carrying something heavy. And instead of carrying it, they saw me and they're like, oh, I can give it to Ashleydawn and she can carry it. And you're like, well, you lost me. I don't even know what you're talking about. Okay, here's the deal. When someone is going through something, whether it be emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, whatever, and it's heavy for them, and they call you, and have you ever had somebody just call you and they just unpack everything on you? And they just, for hours and hours and hours, and then this, 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 and you are exhausted after you get off the phone. You are exhausted because they took everything that they were carrying and they dumped it on you. And now they feel great. They're out living their best life. They're having a great day. They're going and they're doing and they're having wonderful times. But then you, especially if you're empathetic and you're an empath, or you're compassionate of any kind, and you feel people's emotions, and you're with people and you care about people, a lot of times when they put it all on you, it's too heavy, right? And we crumble under it. The weight is too heavy. And so they unleash everything, they drop it all on you, and then they're done. Then they're out having a good time, but you feel so weighed down and you feel so heavy. And you feel exhausted when you get off the phone with people. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have to let people know where your boundaries are, that they can't just unpack everything when they talk to you, especially if it's a friendship, right? If you're counseling them, that's one thing. But if it's a friendship and you're supposed to be friends, then it should really go both ways. It should really be give and take, right? There's two people to a conversation, and it's kind of like volleyball, right? You pop the ball over, the other person pops the ball over, it goes back and forth. That's how a friendship really should be. It should go back and forth. But a lot of times, it doesn't. A lot of times, it's, well, help me with my problem. Well, can you come do this? Well, can you come do that? Well, I really think you need to do this. No, listen. Nobody can tell you how to live your life except you. If people are not paying your bills, they can't tell you what to do, right? When I was a little girl, and I mean, I still do honor my parents and my mom and dad, but when I was a little girl, there are things that I would do because I lived under my parents' roof and they were paying all the bills. And so when they would ask me to turn the lights off, I would turn the lights off, even if maybe I wanted the lights on because they were paying the bills. So when people come into your life and they want to tell you where you need to go and what you need to do, and they want to tell you this and they want to tell you that, they're not paying your bills. You are in control of your life. And yes, if you're a Christian, you've given that control over to God, and God is leading and God is guiding and God is directing you. But sometimes, just like there's too many cooks in the kitchen when you're making something and you got a recipe and everybody's trying to add stuff to it, sometimes you got too many people in your ear. You got too many voices in your ear that you're allowing them to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. And sometimes you just got to say, enough is enough. You're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to tell me how I need to do this or how I need to do that, right? You surrender your life to God, and then understand that people are going to have opinions, and people are going to tell you how to grieve. They're going to tell you that, well, you can only grieve for this amount of time, and you can't grieve longer than that, and you can't do this, and you can't do this, and you can't do this. Listen, everybody grieves differently, and everybody is grieving over different things. At no time should you or me or anybody else tell another person how to process their emotions. Tell another person how to feel what they're feeling or not to feel what they're feeling. Unless you are a licensed counselor and they are going to you for counseling assistance or therapy, you have no right to tell them how they need to process their emotions or how they need to process their feelings. Unless you've walked in their shoes, you have no idea what they're going through. And you can mean well and you can have the best of intentions, but you have no idea what they're walking through. For instance, me. I have no idea what it's like for a woman to lose a child. I have no idea what it's like to be a mom. I know what it's like to be a teacher because I am a teacher. I know what it's like to have been married to a degree because I really, the dynamics were very different. I was married, but I wasn't really, and I didn't really know him. And, I can't compare my little itty bitty marriage to somebody that married their high school sweetheart, somebody that they really loved and they really knew. And then, a 20-some year marriage dissolved. I can't compare my situation to theirs. It's no comparison, and so I have no idea what that would be like to walk through. So for me to tell somebody how to do something, or that would be wrong because I haven't walked in their shoes. Or if somebody, was telling me about their bills and I want to tell them how to pay their bills, but I don't want to help them pay them. No, get out of here. Listen, and I get it. I am one of the most opinionated people that I personally know, and I've got all of these opinions. And sometimes it's difficult for me to keep my opinions to myself, but something that I'm learning, the older that I get, the more wisdom that I get, is unless somebody asks your opinion, it's not needed. If I ask you your opinion, well, then you have the ability and the right to give it to me because I've asked you for it. However, if I don't ask you for your opinion and you just give it to me, right? It's unsolicited advice. I didn't ask you for it. And your opinion hurts my feelings. Well, then that's on you. I am really trying, the older I I get, when I was younger, I did stuff a lot different. But the older I get, the more I realize if people don't ask you for your opinion, they don't want it. And sometimes that's okay. If they don't want your opinion, don't give it to them. That's fine. I'd rather not give your opinion and, maybe salvage a relationship than give your opinion and hurt someone or break a relationship or tarnish a relationship, because sometimes you can't go back from that. Like sometimes when you say things, well, all the time when you say things, you can't take them back. Once words are spoken, they're out there, and you got to deal with the consequences and the repercussions of what happens, after that. So I just want to encourage you. You are allowed to grieve in whatever way that you need to. You are allowed to have feelings and to process those feelings. Reach out to somebody. Reach out to a friend that you trust. Reach out to a counselor or maybe a pastor that you trust, or a really wise friend that you trust. Don't try to do it alone, because listen, I have a lot of friends that struggle with suicidal thoughts, and it's an attack of the enemy, and that attack just keeps coming and coming and coming, and you really need somebody that's going to help you, that's going to speak truth into you, that is going to breathe when you feel like you can't breathe on your own. And we're not meant to do this life alone. We're not meant to go through things alone. God loves us. He gave us each other for a reason. But don't put your nose where it don't belong, and don't be giving advice to all kinds of people that don't want your advice, because you can do a lot of damage and you can really hurt people. I've been very, very hurt from people giving me opinions and advice that I never asked for. People assuming things that they have no idea about. People thinking they know me just because they see me on social media, but they have no idea who I am in real life. And I've had a lot of people tell me a lot of different things. Oh, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. I'm thinking, do you have any idea the type of woman that I am? And that's not to say like, woo, look at me, but I'm a woman of God, and my life is submitted to God, and everything that I do, everything I think, everything I say, I submit to the authority of the Holy Spirit and Jesus Christ and God. And so when somebody that doesn't know me, that assumes something and is trying to tell me how to live my life, man, it really grinds my gears, because I'm like, you have no idea. You ain't paying my bills. You're not in my life. You're not a person that's close enough to me for me to share, really tough things with. Like, don't tell me what to do. And especially, grieving with my dad, there were so many people that told me, oh, you should be over it by now. And I'm thinking, you must have had a really bad relationship with your dad for you to say that, because my dad was my best friend in the whole world. We talked every single day. We went on adventures in the weekends, and I would rather spend time with my dad than anybody in the world. Like, it's not just going to go away in 3 years. Like, oh, you should be over that by now. Like, who are you? What kind of relationship did you have with your dad? Sometimes I miss my dog, and I still grieve over my dog. I had him for 19 years. When I was a little girl, he was my best friend. I was an only child, and I love that dog. And people are like, well, you should be over it. Have you ever had a dog that you love, that you rescued? Like, do you even know what that's like? No, you don't? Well, then zip it. And people that say, oh, you're complaining because you don't get to, finish the school year off with your students. Are you a teacher? Have you ever had students? Have you invested your life and laid your life down for children to watch them grow? Have you laid your salary down and struggled financially so that you could be a teacher? Listen, I could have a really good job making a lot of money right now. I'm a very intelligent girl with a ton of expertise in a lot of areas. But I don't have a really fancy high dollar job. I have a very low dollar job that requires me to do things that sometimes I wish I didn't have to. Sometimes I put stuff on a credit card because I can't pay the normal bills, because I'm a teacher and I'm a preschool teacher, and they don't make a lot of money. But I do it for my students. So if you're not willing to do the same thing, you have no authority to tell me how to do it. And it's the same thing for you. If somebody is telling you what you need to do or how you need to do it, if they haven't walked a mile in your shoes, they can't tell you. Don't let other people make you feel bad about things that you're going through. And even, with me being married, people say, oh, you overreact. And have you lived through abuse? Have you lived through betrayal? Have you lived through infidelity? No, you haven't? Well, then you have no idea what it's like. Have you moved 6 times in 2 years? Have you packed up everything you have in a U-Haul and moved across country for somebody that you believed that loved you that proved they didn't? No, you haven't? Then you have no authority. You have no say-so. You don't. You can't tell someone how to live their life if you're not living it. You can't. So I just want to encourage you. This has kind of been, it's like 30, 40 minutes. I've tried to keep my videos smaller because I know a lot of you will like turn it on and turn it off, and that's fine. Listen, I just want to encourage people, and the whole purpose of this video is to let you know it is okay to grieve. Right now we are living in some crazy times, and it is okay if you're sad. It is okay if you cry. It is okay if you are mentally and emotionally and physically exhausted and you have a mental breakdown. It is okay if you sometimes can't pick yourself off the floor because you're crying so much. It is okay. You are not alone. I have been there more times than I like to admit. I've pushed myself into the point that I break. I don't have it all together. My life is not perfect. I don't have all the answers. I get tired and I get weak and I cry and I pray and I scream out to God and I ask Him for help. And sometimes He helps me the way that I think He will, but most times He helps me in other ways that I couldn't have even imagined. So I just want to encourage you. Don't let people put you down and make you feel less than and make you feel like you got to do things their way, because you don't. You are in control of your life. You are living your life. You are paying your bills. You are wiping your own butt. Don't let other people make you feel inferior. Don't let other people make you feel insignificant or that there's something wrong with you because you have feelings and emotions. Jesus wept, even though He knew He was going to heal Lazarus. He wept. He experienced emotion. Probably, in my opinion, doesn't say this anywhere in the Bible, but probably He wept because He saw His friends weeping and it broke His heart. It's okay to see things and cry over them. It is okay to weep. I would even venture to say it is good to cry. It is good to let those emotions out. I know that there's a lot of people, be strong, be strong. No, cry. Let those feelings out. Express your emotions. Don't keep everything bottled up. That's why that's not why people do bad things, but that's a lot of the reasons why people blow up, is because they just keep it all in, kind of like a pressure cooker. And then when they can't take it anymore, it's like a pressure cooker, when it gets all that pressure in it and just starts whistling, and then it just blows the lid off of it, and then the steam rises up. I've watched a lot of people do that they just, suppress, and then they can't suppress it any longer, and they explode. And it's horrible, and it's sad, and people get hurt. And I just want to encourage you that God loves you. And the things that break your heart and the things that make you cry break His heart and make Him cry. Jesus catches every tear that you cry, and He promises that He's going to return them for joy. He's with you in the good times. He's with you in the bad. He's with you when you're cheering, and He's with you when you're crying. It is okay to feel. I just want to let you know that. I love you. God loves you. And I'm always here. If you want to message me, innerbeauty101@hotmail.com. I'll try my best to respond quickly, but you're not alone. I just want to encourage you. I love you. Even more, God loves you, and you're not alone. It's okay to feel. Love y'all.